should now be live. Good evening, everyone. Bear with me one moment. I'm just going to double check everything on OBS, that it all appears to be correct. How are we all doing tonight? Hello, chat. How are you doing? I'm glad to hear it. I've been feeling a bit fragile because I drank a bit too much yesterday. With my buddy. However, I thought I would do a stream this evening because I felt bad for not doing one last night. And since it's going to be modular building, it's not going to be anything too extensive. So I thought it would be a nice chill thing to do tonight. Hopefully more people are going to pop in. Plan today is to design some sort of general decorative bits and bobs. So not planters or anything like that. Just to sort of design some things for that you might put in plaza areas or just along the path, or you might use as part of a different building. The first one I want to sort of play around with is this sort of stone flower I made, which I want to kind of make into some things. So that's going to be what we're working on first. So I'm having a think, like maybe we could make some thing with the old skulls. Hello, Rob. How are you doing today? Now, I was pondering whether to put something behind the Rex skull, like a series of wooden posts or something like that. I was thinking go for short ones and then go for longer ones. So maybe... Ugh. So I'm thinking, if that's like using that to be directly behind. Well, yes, Rob. Like you might have missed. I mentioned earlier that I felt bad for not doing a stream on Friday, so I'm doing one today. No, Chad, I have not, because I'm not a Godzilla fan, so I have not seen that particular trailer. believe that I did actually mention that on Wednesday. Someone else asked the same question. I've just, never been that into Godzilla. I mean, I would say that newer Godzilla movie is the best of the ones I have seen. But like that's all I can really say about it, is that I think that's the best Godzilla film I've seen of all of them, but I'm not exactly a fanboy, so take my opinion for what it's worth, I guess. I mean, what do people think of that? I mean, I feel like maybe there should be like a rope or something in between. You don't like Bailey, you don't like Godzilla. Tut tut, Fletcher. Look, my issues with Bailey is solely because I think he was terrible in Rebirth, but I don't blame that on him. I think that's, you know, the absolutely hideous writing. Um, although I suppose the problem is that I'm kind of got to the point where I'm sick of people going on about him. So like, I kind of don't like him because I'm tired of hearing him being constantly mentioned, if that makes sense. However, as Berenson has pointed out today, I thought we could have a specific conversation topic today, and that is the Titanic, since this week marks the 114th anniversary of the sinking back on, where are we now? back on Wednesday, and I thought we could just talk about that, especially given my recent visit to Belfast. And given that interestingly enough, my post that I put up on the 15th resulted in some interesting comments. So I thought let's talk about let's do some discussion on that. And I think that starting comment by Rob is actually a very interesting remark. So the souvenir I brought from Belfast's Titanic experience is a book on them choosing, like, how they went about deciding what they were going to build for the Titanic experience. And there was a period of time where they were considering rebuilding the ship, or at least rebuilding the outside of the ship. But they decided not to, primarily out of cost concerns, basically, because the cost would be astronomical. But it is an interesting thing to think about in terms of museums in general. Because there are museums all around the world for various things. And whether remakes are entirely appropriate. I remember back, I don't know how long ago it was now, quite a while. But one of the Holocaust Memorial Museums wanted to do a thing where you arrived to the museum in the vans actually used in the Holocaust, and that would be how you got to the actual museum. Of course, it wasn't done because of obvious reasons why you wouldn't do something like that. But I suppose this leads into an interesting question of say you rebuilt the Titanic and you rebuilt it as a floating experience. Is it wrong on some ethical level? Given the loss of life? Because I personally don't think it's wrong. But I can see why people would say it's it's profiting from the loss of life. My mum has a very kind of weird perspective when it comes to commemoration. She, for one, believes that we should stop commemorating the Holocaust. She thinks that her opinion is that you should destroy everything, demolish all of these sites and stuff where it happened, because it's to keep them around is disgusting, basically. Which I don't personally agree with that. I think having these sites, history is not always pleasant, and I think it's important to keep these places around. But I also can completely understand why she thinks that. That sort of response, I think, is a very natural sort of human response to something like that. And yeah, I suppose people might have those same responses with the idea of like rebuilding a Titanic. What's happened here? This one is not quite in the right place. Historical sites can be quite important as a way to learn from the past. Yeah, exactly. Obviously, any rebuilt Titanic, it wouldn't be, it's not like it's the wreck. It wouldn't be the historical site, but I think some people might say it's relatively similar. Oh dear. That always concerns me when someone says, I have theories about how Titanic sank. Because there are no theories. Or rather, all of the conspiracy theories I've ever heard are categorically nonsense. I think I kind of want to make the ropes at the back more. I think it would be good if we had like more ropes. Yeah, I kind of like that. Okay, and then I think obviously at the front we want some very basic foliage. I'm using the ferns because these you can use in more or less any particular biome. Maybe not necessarily the desert biome, but I reckon you could still get past it with the desert biome. What, you don't believe that the Titanic was swapped with the Olympic for an insurance scam? No. And when you actually learn about it, it's really obvious it wasn't. So people kind of think that the Titanic and Olympic were identical ships because they were sister ships. But actually there were substantial differences between the two. And some of those differences were visual on the outside of the ship. So if they were to have tried to replace one ship with the other, they would have had to actually engage in structural alterations to the outside of the ship. They would have also had to literally take off about 10 hull plates to change the names over. Because, again, people think that the nameplates were just a separate plate stuck to the front. It's not the case. The nameplates were literally hull plates that were engraved and then put on like all of the other hull plates. So to replace that one, you would have had to undo all of the other surrounding hull plates to remove those 2 nameplates. And obviously all the ones at the back on the stern as well. Now, it would have been a mammoth undertaking to have achieved such a thing. It's kind of a bit like the people who don't think we went to the moon and then dream up all these scenarios about how it could have been done. It's like, yes, but it would have been more expensive to fake it than to have just gone to the moon. And it's the same with trying to make the Titanic into the Olympic. It would have been so expensive to have actually done it. It would become infeasible to have done it. Not to mention that the White Star Line, the people who built the Titanic, came off worse from the whole disaster in the first place. To basically tank the entire company, destroy the company, in order to recover the costs of repairs to another ship. It's just doesn't make very much sense. Well, no, Rob, because most human remains would have been eaten by the time we found it. Or decay would have set in. I'm curious, though, what are some of the other conspiracy theories you've heard about the Titanic? I'm actually curious to see how prevalent some of these are. So hit me with ones that you know you have heard of. I'm curious. That's right, you can't change the size of these ones, can you? Okay. Really? Well, I mean, the film that a particular group of people made in the 1940s about the Titanic certainly did blame a particular community of people for the ship sinking. That is certainly true. The reason Titanic split into 2 sections wasn't widely known is because most of the survivors were women and the men in charge didn't believe in the Titanic breaking through. There was... I mean, that is partly correct, Marconian. there was quite a pushback against many of the survivor testimonies that it did break into. But it's not that the fact that they were women that is the problem. It's more of the fact that there was a it was more of a sort of selfish reasoning of we don't want to make it out that the thing was badly built. There was kind of a push towards not making out that British ships were badly built because ship production in this country is one of our major industries. Titanic hit the iceberg because the ship went too fast. That's a fairly common misconception. Is the whole the ship was going too fast? She wasn't. She wasn't going at her top speed at the time of the impact. We only have a single passenger who states that she heard the captain and Bruce Ismay talking about running the ship faster. And what's interesting is that actually, so this whole thing comes around from the idea of like, oh, they wanted the ship to get to New York quicker. And if they arrived early, that was like a really big spectacle for them. But actually, it's kind of the opposite thing. The ship arriving early was a negative. In fact, Bruce Ismay himself wrote a letter or a memo to captains about not arriving early to destinations because arriving early screwed up the plans of rich passengers who had arranged for things like private trains and stuff. So it was better for the company to arrive at the time they said they were going to arrive than to arrive early. Which is a very peculiar thing, but that is the truth, you know. The other element of it is that, yes, the Titanic was not going full speed. And the other thought part about it is that it kind of fits in with this whole like there's a lot of sort of within hindsight criticism that goes on. Like most people are like, well, why would they still stay at the same speed if they had received all these ice warnings? Like, wouldn't a normal person slow down? And yes, to our modern comprehension, yes, you probably should have slowed down. But it wasn't the done thing. Back then, you didn't slow down for ice warnings. Especially when you were getting them throughout your entire voyage. You don't slow down just because you get ice warnings. It just wasn't done. And you can say that was a terrible thing, and that's demonstrative of some pretty lousy. I kind of like the fire effect in that. I was thinking about changing the lighting, but I kind of like the fire effect in that. I'm thinking I might put some small spotlights in here. By the way, the plant pots, Rob, these are the ready-made Zen planters. You'll find them in the planters tab. They are here. And I just changed the shapes and moved them around a bit to create this sort of... I've called it a planter flower. I have a saved version of it, which is just empty, which I might put on the workshop if people want to use it. Yes, the Titanic did sink at night. Actually, a lot darker than people would think. It was a very, very dark night. The film kind of makes it look like the ship sank in like this well lit nighttime, but it really did. It was really dark. Okay, I'm getting a bit annoyed that it says the surface is not the rock. That's showing the surface of the rock being underneath where that rock layer is. That's very irritating. Do you think all the way around? I like that. I think only on the big ones, though. I do think we need to change the wood color. I don't like this bright wood. I think I want the wood to be more of this this darker stuff. Mutosaurus, yeah, I mean, it certainly is a terrifying situation, and that's something. I think that's something I've felt more and more as I've gotten older. When I was younger, my interest in the Titanic was purely from a sort of spectacle perspective. But as I've gotten older, the sort of the tragedy and the human stories are more impactful to me. Oh, well done, Brinson. And I mean, I suppose that's the other thing that I think sometimes is potentially forgotten when people talk about the Titanic, is people forget that these are real people. You know, people really did die, and that should never be forgotten. And unfortunately, I think that kind of carried over to the loss of the Ocean Gate submarine. Yes, the owner was a complete asshole, and he takes full responsibility for what happened to that submarine. But the passengers were passengers, and yes, a couple of them were wealthy, but that doesn't mean that them dying in a horrible situation like that is any better than if it had happened to people who were not wealthy. It's a human tragedy, regardless of who's involved. And yes, Chad is right. There have been worse tragedies. Even in shipping, there have been worse. The William Gustav springs instantly to mind. Right, I'm just going to. Oh, that is a save group, so that's fine. I kind of want to try and make a slightly different version of this one. Just maybe some different. Different animal skull and maybe different flowers. And maybe different colors of wood. Actually. What would this look like if we changed the wood to pale blue, dark blue? Yeah, that's a bit dim. Kind of like the pale blue, actually. Yeah, kind of like that. I mean, I would say it would be cool if we could hide like some water in here. What really bugs me is how big all of these fountain pieces are. They are so enormous. We could be careful. No, the water level is... Where does the water level? Jurassic World Evolution 3 Spino Skull looks way better than the head of the Rebirth Spino. It does. Rebirth Spino isn't bad, but I definitely think it could have been better. You know what? I kind of like the effect that provides. Kind of like... Oh, bugger. I've lost... I cannot access the... I'm going to have to try that one again. Okay. So, that is... is just because that's in the way. No, it's because that stone is in the way as well. Okay, let's try this again. Yeah, I kind of like the effect that creates. It would be nice to have some skeletons of different species. I agree with that, Muto. Triceratops and Stegosaurus spring immediately to mind. It would be nice to have like a Triceratops skull, Stegosaurus backplates, or Stegosaurus thagomizer, Parasaurolophus skull. I think a complete skeleton of Triceratops, Stegosaurus, and a Velociraptor. Those top three, I think, and maybe one pterosaur and one lagoon animal. Did I hear about the news that Disney has fired 1,000 employees? No, but I'm not surprised. If I put that size, is that going to stick out? do we have different flowers? Maybe. I think that looks pretty good. Nicholas, well, the Rebirth Spinosaurus design isn't that bad. I like the design, but it could have been better. Well, the JP3 Spinosaurus design, though outdated, was a way better classic design. Yeah, I mean, we are always that. This argument is always going to exist within the Jurassic fandom over whether the animals should be paleontologically accurate or not paleontologically accurate. I'm in the middle. I think the animals should look correct to the skeletons, but whether you want to make those skeletons bigger or smaller, and whether you want to add your own artistic flair to them, is up to you. It's a movie at the end of the day, not a documentary. I like that. I think that works. The pale blue. Okay, let's do some of these ones. So this sort of size would work kind of okay for something like this. Okay, so again, I'm thinking I want to kind of move away from just generic dinosaur skeletons or stuff. Actually, I did have an idea for something that I did want to do. And again, it was involving the wood props. Actually, maybe the metal ones make more sense. Okay. So, small, big, and large. This is actually inspired by something I saw on City Skylines, actually. I'm going to get rid of that middle one. Accuracy and science should be the base, then you can add your own creativity. Yeah, I mean, that's basically my opinion. My problem with the Jurassic movies these days is I just I'm bored of them. They've just always been the same. I'm not going to call it slop because I don't think they're slop, but they've all just they're just kind of bland, boring films that feel like they're not. That's annoying. I do hate it when this game decides that the direction of movement is messed up. So we could do it like that. Now, this stuff. Last movie was basically without a velociraptor. Yeah, the last movie was definitely not velociraptor. Best to represent the neon. And what colors to go with, because obviously the color is going to be important. Unless we group neons as separate. I've done a lot of blueprint buildings for like the past 6 months, like literally 5 pages of buildings with some decorations here and there. Yeah, I mean, I try to come up or do something every couple of days, at least. And I've got a couple of big projects that I want to get on the go. The thing is, they're projects that I want to record me building as videos, so I kind of have to wait until I have time to do that. Now I'm only going to light up the ones on the front. I'm not going to light up the ones behind. Although, I do wonder if these would look better if they were on the ones behind. We'll put them in place and we'll group them together, and then we'll have a look at how this looks in the dark. And we'll figure out where these light tubes should be. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. So they're all one group, and then the rest of this will be one group. Hopefully. Right. I wish this fucking control was down here on the lower bar. Okay, so let's change the color. I think that's a bit much. I'm thinking that's also not orangey enough. I'm thinking the yellow looks alright. Okay, so that's how it looks like with the yellow at the front. So what if we move it around and put it at the back instead? It would look like that if it was at the back. I kind of like the effect of that, actually. Especially if all these tubes were different colors. It would kind of shift through them. What do people think? Behind or in front? Like in front it was just basic color, but in behind it's this sort of strobing effect. Behind. Okay. I agree. I think it looks better behind. What I am going to do shift that a bit so that is now in the center, and we're going to change the color to something a bit more universally usable, and that's literally just going to be it. That's all I was going to do with this. If I can select all of that, confirm, create group. So that is a group, edit group. Oh. Okay, so I want to be able to change to group these as a group within the group. Is that gonna work? Okay, so I can't create a group within the group. I can split from group. Okay, yeah, so they are now one group. And that is a group. And then if I select that as make blueprint. I wish you could make a group within a group, because that would make that much easier. So now if I get rid of this, and if we rebuild this, yeah, so rebuild, it all builds together. That is what I wanted. Fits my futuristic builds. Yeah, and obviously you can change the color of the lighting. What about a smaller piece? So this is a... Actually, how small can we make this? So that's not that much bigger than that. So... let's see. I kind of want to do something with fire. Because I really like the fire torch effects. And I think we have 3. We have that one. We have these ones. And this one. So what could we do? Hello, Dagon. What could we do? Maybe we could do something with the column. Going to be a very Jurassic Parky sort of decoration, but
This person.
we really do need a mirror control in this game. We then maybe if we just make this one a little lower. Which do you think is the best T-Rex design in the franchise? Buck from Lost World or the Rebirth Rex? Buck, easily. I mean, is there any competition? Like... I mean, the Rebirth Rex is okay, but I think the old school original is the best. Why have we suddenly lost... I actually think these ones on the inside are too much. I actually think these... I think those work better. I think they stick out less. I prefer those. The Rebirth one looks good, although there are some CGI shots where I thought it looked absolutely shit, to be honest. The CGI definitely did not always hold up in that film, in my opinion. There's my beloved wattle. Maybe. I do think these ones should be. Yeah, ever so slightly. What does that look like in the dark? I kind of like that. Yeah, that's kind of cool. Okay, and if we group that. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's. Now I'm thinking if we got rid of these. Where is it? Is it in rocks? Yes, there it is. Oh, it's going to be easier. Simply do this. I think we probably want to get rid of the plants. I'm thinking we'll put some water. If you move that one up, let's see, be level with that. And that one up to be level with that. Those ferns are gonna catch on fire. Yep. Don't worry, I'm gonna replace the ferns. I wish there was a delete all button where like you could select one object and then it would just bring up a delete all. So make doing stuff like this a lot easier. Ooh. I don't think I'm going to be able to do it. Because it's going to poke out. Just about. Hang on. Oh, the water pokes out further. Oh, that's a nuisance. Can do it. I would just have to use another one just to fill the side gap in. Personally, I don't think that's worth it, piece count wise. So we are going to shift. still stick with the one in the middle, because I think that's fine. Trim. Want these blocks I feel are very Jurassic Parky, personally. Okay, where's the brick? Let's actually rotate. That's good. Oh, that's as small as they can go already. Don't really get much of a water effect, but I think that's, it is what it is. I think that lights up quite well. Modular building is kind of like magic. You do good things with it, but sometimes others use it for pure chaos. That's a really interesting way of looking at it. Modular building is like magic. There are people that are really good with it, people who are not so good at it, people who use it for good, people who use it for bad, people who just use it to be chaotic. Okay. Shall we do some of those classic? I do find it interesting that the amber rocks are recolorable, but they don't work. I do wonder whether they're supposed to be recolorable or whether they're supposed to not be recolorable. Why can I never find some nice foliage in this game? I don't like this. Interesting. I don't dislike that. But I think I want to use... I'll just change the heights of the flowers a bit. So they're not all... I think Frontier should do like a folder for modular. I mean, being able to put it all in folders would be nice. That's I definitely agree with that. Being able to organize our stuff the way we want to. It would be lovely if we had some smaller rocks. I kind of like that. Running Muto, thank you for popping in. maybe we could then put in, again, having to change it to day from nighttime. Okay, we want to put some lights, kind of. They don't really light up the rocks, do they? Oh, the rocks. That is probably not how the amber is supposed to work. It just doesn't look right in the dark, does it? The LODs on some of these flowers are also pretty bad. Last one, I think we'll let's do a skeleton. Let's do our good old Rexy. Although I'm gonna make him a bit smaller. So he's gonna be. Let's delete that one. So we've already got one over there. Planters. Now I think the stone works better. See, let's do one that's like properly. Yeah, I think I like this stuff. 2 going to be wide enough? I don't think it is. But maybe 2 that are maximum size. Yeah. And then let's put in a couple of middle sections. Yeah, these are both definitely too high up. This one now. Okay, what's happened here? Why are these? What has happened to the planters? Why aren't they lining up properly? Juice surface. Okay, why has that not duplicated to the same height? That's very bizarre. Really. Hey, so even when aligned to surface, this is not correct either. Okay, what has happened? What is going on here? Is this not flat? So it makes no sense to me that these would be this much out. Both of these are now too tall. It is kind of weird, but the modular building system of this game is just generally weird. Because now, apparently, the sides are too high up. Why are none of these lining up? Maybe they're not flat on the ground. Very peculiar goings on. Okay, this is all flat. This is definitely 100% flat. Turn a line to surface. Somehow, that is no longer in line with the height of the wood on that side. That's bizarre. It's in line with the metal. And that's in line with the metal as well. Okay, somehow the wood is not correctly leveled. Oh, hang on, that's why. It's because it's this sodding lip here. Because they haven't provided a mirrored corner, it puts... They didn't give us a mirrored corner piece. Or a planter which is not symmetrical. So no wonder it looked messed up. Anyway, right. So I think we want this to be a bit more center and okay. What sort of fences we can put behind this? Okay, that works. Roughly to there. I wish I didn't have the big metal bits on the end. of the feet, because I feel like they really interfere with trying to design something. So now I'm going to have to hide them. I have an idea. I don't mind how it sticks out. Actually, I can do something with it. The ivy. Right, and then the Rex. We'll shift the Rex slightly so that we can put it on these stones. Foliage time. Hang on, isn't there some tropical flowers around here somewhere? Cool. Place foliage ourselves. Um, yep, do it ourselves. I mean, who's bit specifically tropical? These sorts of bushes could work anywhere. Some I think that's all right. Lighting. Lighting's going to be the big thing for this one. I hate it when I forget to change that bloody angle thing back. I actually kind of like this. Putting the neon tubes in the gap there between. I think it really works. I think that's pretty cool, actually. Oh, and I think, of course, the last thing for this. Gotta have the signpost in there. I think that looks really good. I'm definitely going to create one for the Spinosaurus and the random sauropod in the same sort of vein. Like, keep the general gist of this script the same, but have the Spino in here with maybe blue lighting and the sauropod in here with maybe green lighting. I think that looks pretty decent, actually. Certainly creating it. I mean, this is all the stuff we've created in April so far for modular building wise. Planters and decorations. Most of these are online, I think now. I want to maybe make a few more large planter fountain decorations. And obviously I need to put the little path covers up, which come in 3 different styles. But yeah, I'm quite happy with the bits we've built today. I think my favorite is this the moving light rig. I think that looks really cool though. I might have to create like a much longer, like non-base version, just like one that's a prolonged sequence that you can use as just like a random path decoration. But yeah. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there, folks. Thank you for the people that did tune in to hang out today. I know it was a bit short notice. Tomorrow we will be back to the Norway build, but accepting that the Norway park is basically done in terms of dinosaurs. It's basically just going to be decorative stuff. So, you know, take that as it is. And yeah, I will see you tomorrow evening. Until then, enjoy the rest of your Saturday nights. Stay safe and good night.